So this here is Septarian, and this has been brought into me by a young man called Max. He's brought this into the shop for me, and he got this for a very, very good price. Now, Septarian is essentially what's known as a Septarian concretion. Now, they refer to these as dragon eggs, and that'll become a little bit more obvious as to why later on. Now, these are not crystals in the strictest of sense. These are rocks, so they are a mixture of various different materials that have been kind of composited together by virtue of pressure and time. Now, they tend to find these along the shorelines. You find these in the UK, but these famously come out of places like Madagascar. Now, Septarian comes from the word septarian from Latin. Now, this basically means partition. So you can see these areas just in between here, which are largely comprised of aragonite, which is a calcium carbonate or a polymorph of calcite. This happens as a result of various different materials, claystone, benatite, various different materials that make up the overall composition of this rock. It gets wet and it dries out. It gets wet and it dries out. And as it goes through this repeating process of drying out and then getting wet again, it expands and contracts, expands and contracts. Now, the interesting thing is water, which essentially acts as kind of an exchange mechanism or host mechanism carrying minerals, exploits the weaknesses in these cracks and then starts to harden and crystallize, creating these septum or partition. Now, this is quite unusual for a septarian. You don't often see this. These pieces here actually come out. So you've got this sort of large druze section in the center with these little tiny calcite crystals in there, and the rest of this sort of black material is all aragonite. So this is Septarian, which means partition.